Alright, welcome back. This should be immediately after I left off the previous episode. My name is Max7238, welcome back to Carrier Command, and the carrier is still under repairs. I've gone ahead and re-outfitted everything. I just brought back a Manta from clearing out a few more naval units. Oh well, apparently somebody else decided to show up after the fact. Not sure where that one came from. But, generally just trying to make sure that everything is going to go more smoothly from now on. I have pulled the carrier back a little bit. I have also gone ahead and fitted 2 petrels for attack, 1 for multi-role, and I still have the 1 fitted with all IR missiles for emergency use because I'm by myself here, and it would be nice to have something like that on deck for attack at any moment. Now I'm going to launch A7 as soon as it's back in the hangar, so that I can go and take out that other naval unit, because I don't like that guy. But the other thing is that now that I've got the opportunity, I'm going to go ahead and start taking out the Force Shield Island, and I wanted to include as much of that footage in here as possible, because that's kind of the point of the previous episode. Just ended up not going as planned. I'm okay with that. Honestly, I'd prefer that. Keeps things interesting. Although most of what was to blame there was me being terribly hard-headed. So what we're going to do is we're going to get full scans on everything that I've been able to grab a tag for on the island. Only just got back to it. You know how to scan. You know what to look for. So now that we know where a good number of things on the island are, I don't want to say that I have the entire island scanned, but I have a couple of practices that I want to show off for that here. To speed things along just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and... Okay, so S8 should be my Sea-Whiz. I'm going to go ahead and launch the artillery bear. You can hold a waypoint to check its range without actually dragging and dropping it anywhere. I do want it a little bit further away from the carrier, but not too far. And then I want to launch my Sea-Whiz out to follow after it, just to keep it safe from any IR missiles. It should not be threatened by any land units out this far. But what I'm doing that for is because I would like to start using my ground artillery as soon as I am able to fully scan a turret. Now, I don't really need to scan these turrets. Personally, I don't particularly care what they are. I just want them dead, because I have to send my virus bot seal in here, and any of these turrets can take out virus bots, even if they can't take out the virus bot carrier, such as the Walrus or the Seal that's actually got them. So it's important to remove any turrets around the target, regardless of what they are, whether they be 30mm, 40mm, missile, gun, etc. Doesn't matter. They all gotta go. So if they all gotta go, take them all out. And ground artillery is an excellent way to do that. As you saw with the previous island in the last episode, it is also possible to do that with a simple 20mm chain gun mounted on a petrel or a Razorbill. In fact, a Razorbill is perfectly capable of doing it pretty much autonomously through orders. As long as it's not an AA unit, the Razorbill should be able to handle just about anything with some chain guns. Albatross is pretty good at it too, but if you're going to employ anything, Razorbills are pretty good fast attack craft for autonomous use. Now, I am more hands-on in my approach, just in case you haven't noticed. I prefer to handle things more directly through the use of units. Part of the reason why subsequent episodes after this one, and I am going to, hard cut that, yes, after this one, I'm going to be running a strictly ground campaign. And I want to do that with some community participation and with some participation from my captain, and, just generally try and make that into, like, my next series for the channel. I don't really expect it to go anywhere. It's kind of just because I find the game fun. I want more reasons to play the game, and the game's not being updated often enough for me to have those reasons more organically. So... Oh, okay. that looked like it was another unit in the water. You see how they leave these sort of trails behind them when they're in the water? It's very helpful for spotting them during the day. I'm still fully convinced that there's got to be some more turrets on the island that I have not been able to locate. So what I'm going to do is, once I've got all these things fully scanned, I'm going to call back this Albatross, launch another scout, just to be cautious on fuel usage. And then, what I'm probably going to do is send in a couple of runs via, we'll use some bombs to take out some of the Sea Whiz. Because I haven't really demonstrated bombs quite yet, aside from the one heavy bomb that I dropped quite a while back. And those can be pretty reliable for taking out ground units. You have to be pretty accurate with them. And I think I'm going to use those on a... Oh, there we go. So we got a ground unit on a Petrel, since the Petrel is pretty stable and good for dropping bombs as a result. Now, one of the things that I am going to have to be careful about when using the Petrel with that is the altitude. Because as we know, Sea Whiz has a certain range. We don't want to enter that range, or the Sea Whiz will fire on the Petrel, and since we're trying to be stable and slow to drop bombs, we're very likely to lose the Petrel like that. Not good. That being said, oh, and there's even a bunch of these little archways. AI can get stuck under these and hide down there, and then pop out when you least expect them, so you got to be cautious of those. I'm going to go ahead and just eyeball once more for turrets. So, one of the benefits to using bombs over something like the 160mm gun is actually that bombs will detonate on contact with the water. 160mm shells and ground artillery shells, 120mm, do not do that. They are greatly hampered against targets that are in the water. There are some fun tricks that you can play on the AI naval units and the enemy carriers specifically, using bears. One of the funniest things we've ever done, and this was not our idea, actually Ribbons came up with this and told me to. It was the first place I heard it. Not that Ribbons was necessarily the first one to do it, but dropping bears into the water in the patrol path of a given naval unit and letting the bears with like a battle cannon or a heavy cannon blow up swordfish and needlefish, because the swordfish and needlefish don't really target them aside from with their main gun, and the main gun isn't very useful against targets in the water, especially teeny tiny little vehicles bobbing up and down in the waves. I have the fleet here. I could employ the fleet, and we could clean this up real fast with 160mm, but the whole point here is to, you know, sort of help people out with alternative methods. And we want to make sure that even if you're not in an ideal scenario, you still have some ideas on how you could handle this. So, one of the things that I'm going to do now, just as a quick test, is I'm going to launch a guided missile at the target. And I'm also going to launch a guided missile out here, say right there. And what we want to do is we want to pull back and watch the progress of those missiles, just as one last thing. Now, ordinarily I wouldn't do this, but I don't have my captain with me, so I don't have a second set of eyes. So I want to make sure that these missiles land without coming into contact with the Sea Whiz bubble, because I'm going to have to start sending in air units here shortly, and I don't see any units in those given areas, and I know that over here should be cleared because I've, you know, been having to defend the carrier. I did pull the carrier back a little bit, and it should be well on its way to being repaired. So we've got bears, we've got seals, we have a anti-air walrus. I think that's actually the only one, so we're, in a way, we're quite lucky. Yeah, it's just the two. It's the one caught over there in the woods, and the other one as part of this convoy. So the one in the convoy is actually decently defended, in the sense that it's got the bear right nearby, and it's got two seals with it. So if you were going to try and handle it with ground units, you would want to try and take out the bear first, just to be on the safe side, since bears are absolutely the biggest threat to your ground units. So we're going to try and deal with them first. So we've got our big picture. We need to call back our scout, because our scout's starting to run low on fuel. We're also kind of chugging a little bit because I'm actually uploading the previous video in the background while I'm recording this one. Because I am impatient, and I haven't learned my lesson at all from what happened to the carrier in the last recording. We are back up to 46%. Our weapon systems are all back online. We should be perfectly okay for now. So I don't think I'm going to be getting a enemy carrier footage this time. If I can fit it into the hour, because I'm going to try to hold myself to an hour here for this this episode as well. If I can fit it into the hour, then I'll do it. But what I will probably do is I will probably save Scum, because they have since taken Fear's Edge, which means that they could now be anywhere. Anywhere in this whole quadrant. Now, the most likely thing is that they're coming for me, or they're going for Isolus. We're not entirely sure yet, but their likely targets are Storm, Bounty Bar, and Isolus for where they should be headed, because those are the neutral islands closest to them. So maybe we'll get lucky, and they'll show up here, and we'll get to beat them up on camera, and maybe I'll have to send out a long-range scout to manhandle them from a very great distance. We'll see. Personally, I'd prefer to show some ship-to-ship combat. I think that would be much more entertaining, and it's also much more useful because you're not going to be in a scenario most often where sending, Manta's super long range to deal with the enemy carrier is your best bet. Now, are you just queued? Yeah, you're just queued. Okay, well, you've got enough fuel this time around, so we shouldn't lose that Albatross to fuel before the Manta or the other Albatross can launch. I'm thinking of the other Manta because I'm thinking about this other naval unit out here I'm very angry at. But now that we've got something in the queue, we can go ahead and also queue up the craft that we're going to use to start cleaning up. And we also want to... Oh, actually, here, let me... Really? You're being queued to launch over landing our low-fuel Albatross. Okay, game. I see how it is. Yeah, crane's working and everything, so yeah, we're definitely prepping to launch the Petrel before retrieving the Albatross, even though the Albatross is in the holding pattern. See, I don't like that. That's one of the things that I wish it was possible to change. It was possible to mod the priority for this sort of thing. I know a lot of people also want to speed up the speed of the elevator, which, I guess totally understandable for a lot of different reasons. Let's see. So we definitely want to get A3 to be carrying our bombs, and I'm gonna go ahead and load it with 2 light bombs, medium bomb, and another heavy bomb. Because if we're gonna be doing bomb demonstration, we ought to do it with everything. And I'm gonna try my best to... Here, we will set you up, since we haven't been able to demonstrate this yet, we will set you up on a follow order to a naval unit. And what you should see there is that the Petrel is going to go ahead and fly on in and sit at about 100 meters off the water. At least it should. Oh, chill. Just one of the bears doesn't like you. There's no way it's going to hit you. Actually, it might. Yeah, it hadn't climbed to full altitude yet. Oh, good thing it didn't fly over any sea whiz. I wasn't paying attention. I'm trying to do too much at one time. Okay, so you're going to come in for the landing now, right, Albatross? We're not going to lose you to lack of fuel because of poor priority, right? I'm going to actually wait until it's triggered for landing before I queue up the other Petrel. Stop the log from bleeding. Yeah, look at all those turrets. Well, while we're waiting on that, something that I haven't been able to show yet that I should is here in the currency report. You can see the different points of salvage, and you can also see how much certain things are worth. Right? So, right here we've got the different, needlefish, swordfish, island control, etc. So you can see how much some of these things are worth that you're taking down. And although, yes, you can get money from controlling large amounts of islands, what you really want to be doing is engaging successfully in combat, because that bounty is going to be the majority of your holdings. Okay, so we have the Albatross queued to land. So we'll go ahead and trigger you, and we'll make sure that the Petrel is doing what we think it is. And yep, holding it 100 meters next to its little friend there, the Needlefish. This is something that we like to do when preparing to attack the enemy carrier, so that we've got Petrels sort of on station to attack. Especially if we have a small fleet, we will very often have some extra Sea-Wiz Needlefish following the carrier. And then if those Sea-Wiz Needlefish are following the carrier, then we can also have a Petrel following those Needlefish. And by virtue of, their combined strength, the Needlefish can prevent the Petrel from any anti-air missiles that are fired at it, and the Petrel can defend the Needlefish from everything but torpedoes. And so the two are actually a pretty powerful combination, just those two together. And that also means that you can order this Sea-Wiz Needlefish around, and the Petrel will follow wherever the Needlefish goes. So if you need, something to patrol an island for you, say maybe in PvP, that might be something worth looking into. Running like some anti-air missiles on the Petrel and rocket pods, so that the Petrel can launch anti-air missiles, and then the Needlefish itself also has the Sea-Wiz, and then you have the Petrel's rocket pods to take out, say, an enemy fleet vessel or enemy ground units, that sort of thing. So it's actually a very versatile combination. I'm a big fan. So we have our Albatross in the air. We have our other attack Petrel over here, kind of waiting, and we want to get this other Petrel in the air so we can drop the bombs. It's actually nighttime, so I'm going to go ahead and also give the island another once-over, see if I spot any other headlights. See, now that we're only... Oh. You had a big hiccup there. I don't know if you saw that. But, oh. It actually tabbed me completely out, and for a second there I was playing it straight through OBS. And I didn't notice because it's like right on top of each other, and I never look at my face cam like I probably should. So, I'm not seeing any other sets of headlights. These two are still stuck in the woods. That's good for us. It means we have a good way to demonstrate the light bombs, because light bombs are pretty difficult to use in order to be very accurate with them. If you're going to be doing bombing runs, you're better off using pretty much anything other than an Albatross. And the reason why I say that is, although the Albatross can be very stable, it's also pretty slow. And if you run into trouble, there is no dodging what's coming at you, for the most part. And it also can't carry countermeasures. So if it happens to run into, say, like anti-air missiles because you missed a naval unit or something, the Albatross is probably just done for. It's also not going to be able to, turn quickly and get out of range or out of the line of fire of a Sea-Wiz turret. So, generally a bad idea to use an Albatross for a bombing run. Now, a Manta can fly fast enough, especially in a dive, to drop bombs and get away before Sea-Wiz can tear it up. You've probably seen me do that a couple times with rockets, but it does work the same way with bombs. You could just carry more rockets than you can carry bombs, which is why I use the rockets. If we had, like, bomb bays or something, I would use bombs all the time. If bombs were more of an ammunition than they were just a singular piece. Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and take manual control of this Petrel. Right after we go ahead and, yep, so there's who we want, right there. So, I'm going to hit this manual, hit this to manual, and we need to start raising altitude and closing in. And as you can see, we now have our bomb indicator. Go ahead and clear up our screen by locking our target. One thing I do wish, and I'm going to go ahead and keep my eyes out for this right now, is I wish that this bomb indicator would turn red when the target was in the blast radius of the bomb. That would be very helpful for people trying to, accurately land their payload. And this didn't used to work. CIWS used to shoot down bombs and just treat them like missiles. So, boop. We're going to go ahead and drop that. And then we're going to try and make sure we keep that in view. Oh, couldn't quite keep it in view, but it did land, and it seems to have killed the AA, which was our target. But it didn't kill the SEAL companion. So, go ahead and drop the other one. Switch over to the medium bomb. Go ahead and unlock the target. There we go. We gotta raise altitude because we're getting a little too close for comfort here. Okay, so actually, I'm gonna switch over to the heavy bomb. We're going to come around on that convoy. Remember, Petrel can move pretty quickly, and it can also do a lot of very strange maneuvers. Yeah, look at all those units. I'm just going to throw the heavy bomb at them. Anti-air, and lock the other anti-air. Boom! Oh, and there's our last anti-air unit, as far as we are aware. I'm going to keep him locked. We're going to go ahead and raise altitude, and we're going to use this medium bomb to take him out. Medium bombs don't have quite the huge blast radius that the heavy bombs do. So you do have to be somewhat careful, and we know the target is moving, so this is going to be a difficult hit, but right about there should do it. And now we raise throttle, level out, try and gain some altitude before we switch over to get a good view, and we got him. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and triple check all of our remaining targets here. Make sure that we don't have anything that could possibly threaten an air unit. It doesn't appear that we do. So we're going to go ahead and call this Petrel back. So the Bear and Walrus is starting to run low on fuel hanging out there. That's okay. Actually, as a matter of fact, we don't need our ground artillery anymore. So instead of that, let's have you head on in, pick up the Walrus, and bring him back. Just because we can. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and take control of the Petrel. Go ahead and start by raising altitude roughly to 400 meters and moving in. I'd like to pick up speed first. Level out. You know, actually, hold up a second. Let's actually order the AI in. And before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and save, because I don't trust them. They should be good to go, but I don't trust them. And let's see how the AI handles it. Not a single hit. Look at that. Fired off a ton of rounds. Didn't land a one. Tried to pull the trigger. It was on the wrong button. And we got those bears out in the water. We can use rockets for them, because rockets should explode on contact with the water. Wow. I'm surprised you're not dead. There we go. Oh, see? One shot from a bear. Doesn't matter how tough the petrel is. Petrel's going down. How's our Albatross doing on fuel? Doing okay. But as you can see, I was out there that whole time. Pretty close proximity as well. And that missile seal never once targeted me. Enemy AI will not use IR missiles to target air units. That doesn't mean it's completely impossible for IR missiles to end up targeting an air unit. It has happened before, for example, if an IR missile is launched, the intended ground target is destroyed, and there is an air unit about, the IR missile can attempt to retarget onto the air unit, but it's very, very unlikely that the missile will actually land and deal any damage. Oh, do we have an example here? Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Check this out. You're probably going to run into this pretty often. This is a bug that's been in the game for quite a while now that they keep trying to fix, and it just keeps popping back up. This petrel is stuck, eternally trying to face around and get on top of the walrus. Now, I believe it's because, for whatever reason, it really wants to try and get its side around onto the target instead of coming at it from above, just directly from above. Or, maybe just, like, adding in another stop along the way, something to help it stabilize. Don't jump. Something like that. There's got to be some solution to this, because what I end up having to do, right? Let me turn off the thing. What I end up having to do is I end up having to come in here, and I just kind of max throttle, spin it around, and let it go. And from there, it ought to be able to... I told you not to jump. This dog is 12 years old. I do not need him developing bad knees from a bad habit. Yeah, there we go. So now it should be able to handle things all on its own. You just kind of need to kill its momentum and, help it get back in line. Now, I believe the pickup distance is 12 meters. So once it's able to close within 12 meters of the pickup target, it'll snatch it right up. And I know that from the UI mod that gives, rangefinder capabilities to this stuff. I think they might be drifting a bit in the current. Oh, there it goes. Just swung right on by and picked him up. Alright, turn off the tracking there. We have our other petrel in the air. Let's go wrap this up. So, as we've seen, generally inadvisable to try and use the 20mm guns on bears as well. They're very threatening. You want to, eliminate them as quickly and safely as you can. So, a bombing run with something like rockets, or dropping bombs from above, or on a bombing run is generally a lot more advisable. Unfortunately, you can't directly target with rockets. Rockets did, at one point, used to be pinpoint accurate, just like the gun is. But they're already so powerful. The developers decided to nerf them by making them slightly inaccurate like that. Personally, I think that was a good idea. Because rockets are still ridiculously strong, but now they require more of a commitment to use, and you can't snipe with them like you used to be able to. Alright, so let's go perform a low fly over the target. Now this is something that I do pretty often, just as a habit, is I will, if I think the island is clear and I want to perform a landing operation, one of the things that I'll do is I will manually do a low flyover below 300 meters just to sort of eyeball everything, take it all in, make sure that there's nothing that I missed, no flipped units, nothing hiding around near the target, like there could have been something hiding underneath that ramp over there next to the hangar bay. And by performing this low flyover one more time, we can deal with any threats that emerge out of nowhere, and if there appears to be nothing, which there doesn't appear to be anything else to worry us, we can go ahead and send in the landing operation. So that's what we're going to do, and we've captured a Force Shield Island just like that. So let's go ahead and deploy our virus bots, and then we will go ahead and deploy one of our unused petrels to pick them up. Gotta wait for it to actually deploy, or realistically to just be in the map. Once it appears in the map, it's not necessarily deployed just yet. As you can see, it can't be picked up until it's actually outside the carrier, but that's okay, so we can handle that. So drop that off and perform our landing op, and from there we're golden. So we will also just go ahead and stick this thing back on here, and we're gonna go ahead and I'll probably cut the video here, honestly. If anything interesting happens during the takeover of the island, then I will, you know, be sure to leave that in. But otherwise, I'm probably going to cut to discovering and destroying the enemy carrier. If I do that, if it cuts here and I just don't come back in, and this is the end of the episode, then I'll be seeing you next time. We'll be in a whole different, whole new save. It will be slightly modified to help get us started, but it is going to be like from the initial modification of that save. I know he's got to go, so he's talking to me. From the initial modification of that save, the rest of it's going to be purely organic. Should be done all on camera, barring some cuts just to save the viewer some time, something like that, you know? So, I know, we'll go. So, I'll see you guys in the next episode, and we will begin our conquest. Ground only. Try to hunt down the last of these metals. Because truly, I want to get the rest of my ground kills, and I have a lot of naval units that I gotta take out, so I'll be practicing a lot with torpedoes. Or I will just bug my captain to let me hit the fire button after he's done all the math. Because otherwise, oh no, you're landing, okay. Otherwise, I'm never going to kill any naval units unless I do it in a petrel. Or in a manta, excuse. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and order you in. And just to be safe this time, I'm going to go ahead and order it to deploy here on the airstrip. Just to be safe. But, yeah, if you see anything else, cool. It means something else interesting happened on this save. If not, kiss this save goodbye, and I'll see you in the next episode. Catch you later. Hello, welcome back to Carrier Command 2. I'm starting recording on an emergency because I was going to send out these two scouts to go find the enemy carrier, and they found me. As you can see, captured the island, missed one Sea-Wiz turret, and suddenly, enemy fleet. So, we're going to be tacking this on to the end of that previous episode, and we're going to go ahead, take direct control of this manta, and do as much damage as we possibly can to the fleet vessels specifically, not the enemy carrier itself. We want to take out as many of those fleet vessels as we can because a lot of those are carrying carrier cruise missiles, and carrier main guns, 160 millimeter. If we try and do anything drastic with our own carrier right now, especially in our damaged state, we're going to lose the carrier. So, we're going to go take out those needlefish. Following the needlefish, then we can deal with the actual, enemy carrier. And I'm talking and not fully paying attention to what I'm doing, so I'm liable to screw it up. But here we go. Keeping in mind that the enemy carrier has every capability that our own carrier does, so they're going to have multiple CIWS, multiple anti-air missile launchers, etc. We're going to try and use our speed to our advantage here, keep from losing the Manta. Gotta do a couple of corkscrew maneuvers here and maintain your momentum, maintain your speed. This is more of the kind of thing that I do while I'm playing. Oh my. That is an enemy air unit firing rocket pods at me in midair. And chain guns. There's another rocket pod volley. Nothing countermeasure is going to be able to do about rocket pods. Look at them all on me. Good thing they can't fly to save their lives. I've only got a couple of rockets left, so I don't mind losing this thing. Now the other one is probably quite the ways away. We need to have it turn back and come on approach. And in the meantime, we have more naval units to deal with. And we have a Manta to salvage. Or not salvage, but re-outfit. So, let's get on that because it's going to have to heal up before it can go out and take on any other missions. So this one, we're going to load up with more rockets, and we're going to load our heavy bombs since we've got them. Because remember what I said, heavy bombs are overkill on anything except the enemy carrier. We're going to go ahead and also load it up with countermeasures. And in the meantime, now that we've got enough of that fleet down, we're going to double check its position. Make sure that our repairs are still going because we're not at full health. And we are going to hit weapons just to double check what we've got turned on. So for the moment, we're only going to need one of each of these. And I would like to be presenting right side, so we're going to turn off the left side. CIWS, we are not going to be needing flares, and for the moment we won't be needing the main gun. Cruise missiles, I should keep a noisemaker loaded. We should probably have it set as close to 0 degrees as possible, because we're going to be moving, hopefully, in an eastwardly direction as we come around at them. So here we go. So for the moment, turn weapons off. Try and push the engine as far as we can without turning off repairs. And so what we're gonna do, because I was preparing to move the carrier down to chase after them in a different direction, but now that we know where they are, and we haven't damaged them, the AI should not be retreating. If the AI is not retreating, let's see, can I reach repairs from here? I can. I'm going to. We need speed. I'm just turning that off for the moment. I need to get around and get into position to where I can get the carrier to catch up to them. And I do want the carrier to catch up to them. Come around behind them. If we can throw out their rear weapons, that would be rear left and rear right, that takes out their rear CIWS and their torpedo tubes, which is very important, because then we can start launching torpedoes at them and there's not a thing they can do about it as long as we've taken out their fleet. We're going to try and use that Manta to take out the fleet with the remaining rocket pods that it has, while the other one repairs and rearms. So, let's make sure that we are going to clear the island here. It does appear that we're going to be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and level us out at roughly 90 degrees. Hit that maintain heading, and we're going to return repairs for the moment while we go ahead and monitor the situation, because we need to get out into open water around the south end of the island so that we're shielded from their progress. And at the moment, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to leave the Manta in, roughly due north. Pop open our chain guns, double check our heading, and get in there. It's going to be a nighttime battle. I fully expect to lose this Manta as well. I'm going to be pretty reckless with it, because I have priorities, and the priority is not saving the Manta, the priority is taking out the enemy fleet vessels so that I can get my carrier in as close as possible, as fast as possible. Now the main target with the heavy bombs is going to be the rear of their carrier, because like I said, taking out those rear guns is going to be the most important thing. Taking out their anti-air missiles, kind of helpful. Taking out their, main gun and carrier cruise missiles, also not too bad. But what we really need to worry about are the torpedo tubes and the rear CIWS. Having no rear CIWS... Hey, surprise. Having no rear CIWS means that they are going to be less capable of shooting down our... less capable of shooting down our cruise missiles that we want to throw at them. They're really pulling no punches with those anti-air missiles. Okay, so we're going to need to come back around, because we do not want to come in too low. Oh, we have an air unit on us. Looks like that anti-air missile didn't quite work out. That is okay. If there's anything I'm worried about from the enemy, it certainly isn't their air units. Although if you tempt me, I'm going to shoot you down because you're going to piss me off. How's it going? Remember when I said they couldn't fly to save their lives? You can just go ahead and get right in behind them pretty easily. Oh, no, that's not going to work. Because while they can't fly very well, neither can the anti-air missiles. They will also very happily just crash themselves if you... I've done this before, I've baited them into crashing themselves into the water, but I've also got the carrier to deal with, so I'm going to stop fooling around. As much as I like dogfighting, it's not what we're here for. Okay. So, managed to take out their navy. It's extremely important. So now, I'm going to try and do as much as I can to damage the carrier. I'm going to purposefully try and stall out here. And... oh, went just a little too high. actually lost my ability to rotate. Not mean to lose my ability to rotate completely. There we go. Piss off. I'm busy. Alright, hopefully we did some good damage to the rear Sea Whiz. We're gonna try and save this thing. Quite frankly, we don't expect to. Oh, there. Oh, well, their air units, I guess, came around and attacked us. Wow, something fierce, too. And this is why, again... Wow, look at that! No, well, we still have... Look at that, look at that, look at that. I can't stop to hit any of these buttons because I can't see. Alright, so we're gonna come around here. Come on, you're gonna come lay down, come lay down. We're gonna come around here. Make sure we are full throttle on their position. And start moving in. Let's see. Yeah, we're roughly on the right heading. At least I'd like to think so. We're gonna need to shift a little. Let's see. No, a little bit further. 320. Yeah, see, while I was out there only able to do this one unit at a time, they're out there able to do it multiple. I have to repair the front Sea Whiz before I come in contact with them because I have to be able to shoot down their carrier cruise missiles. Otherwise, we're done for before we actually manage to finish them off. We're probably going to lose the Manta to fuel. I'm not going to be slowing down to give it time to land correctly. And we can't launch the other Manta until we get into more shallow water, which we should be doing shortly, but that means we can't even queue it just yet. We can see they've got multiple air units that should give our AA time to reload. This is why you carry so much AA ammo. And, alright, so since we know we don't have any threats at the moment, we need to power that down to power this up. So we need faster repairs, and we need to be moving as close to full throttle as we can. There's also the point that our radar is damaged, so ordinarily we wouldn't even have a scan on any of these targets attacking us, but because the Manta has AWACS and is in contact with us, the Manta is able to tell us what's going on. So until I can repair the bridge, we're not going to have any radar either. But I promise you, at the moment, I think front Sea Whiz is going to be more important than radar. Partially because I have that Manta. Okay, we're back in shallower water. Let's go ahead and pop that other Manta. No way! What? Not possible. You did it? You're a hero! damn, that Manta. Okay. I left that thing out there like, you on your own. And it absolutely just took that as a challenge. Okay. So, we are actually going to want to ease up, if that's the case. They might come back after us. We're going to need to sit here and repair the important systems and prepare to attack. We have the anti-air for right now, but again, rather than radar, the next thing I'm going to be repairing is going to be the left weapons. Because left weapons is what's going to give us our capability to attack them. Now we've got the right side. We don't have radar. We do happen to have this wonderful device to tell us we should probably set up some torpedoes on 347 and let them fly. So we've still got rear right side, even if we don't have rear left. So we'll go ahead and give them something to think about. Yeah, they've got carrier cruise missiles coming in on us. And this right here is exactly why I wanted that Sea-Wiz back online. The enemy carrier primarily attacks using carrier cruise missiles. That's their main offensive option. And they will fire that before they will fire anything else. They'll fling tons of those things at you, and part of the reason why I wanted to take out their fleet is so that their fleet wouldn't also be firing those missiles at me, because the Sea-Wiz can only reload so fast. So we want to make sure that we have mitigated the threat of cruise missiles first and foremost. Okay, once again, Sea-Wiz handling it. Go ahead and throttle us up a bit. And for the moment, turn off weapons. And let's see. So they've got units that appear to be trying to land with them in a holding pattern. As we see it, they're on their left side, and they're sort of in like a patrol pattern. And again, the only reason that we can see them at all is because we've got active Manta. We may have actually taken out their rear weapons. Here, let's launch more torpedoes. Why you know? Oh, right, power. Ah, silly me. Okay, power. Let's give them 2 more. Since they don't appear to be launching noisemakers, it's very possible that the rockets... Oh, nope, there they go. What's my timer on that? 60? I'm going to lower that to 30. I don't have any allied units out here. The only thing I have to worry about hitting is myself. Alright, I'm going to have to leave the power on now. Alright. Let's hop in that other Manta. See if we can't do some more damage. Step 1 is going to be the bombing run, because that's going to be the most difficult. We're just going to have to leave our carrier and hope that the automated weapon systems can keep the carrier alive, because we don't have another player to monitor that situation. Again, usually I'm the one out here doing the remote ops, and my captain's the one monitoring the ship, handling, you know, repairs, all that sort of stuff. Do not have that luxury right now. Gotta do it all myself. Okay, here we go. Bombing run. Bombing run on the rear of the carrier. Bombs landed, arm rocket pods, disarm the bombs to prevent anything going wrong. Now the Sea Whiz stopped firing. That's a good sign. I was still at low altitude, and I was not moving very fast as I was trying to pull out of the bombing run. So that's a good sign. That means that I may have been able to damage the systems that I was most concerned with. Now this is what they were doing to me with their units, and their front Sea Whiz survived, which is not good, but they can only turn so fast. I don't want to lose this Manta. I'm going to try not to. We're mainly concerned with dealing as much damage as we can here. Alright, that's it. Yeah, their units are trying to land. And it looks like, yep, our run was successful. They no longer have countermeasures. So let's get another heading on them just to be safe. Ah, they're starting to run. That's it. So they've taken damage now. They're more concerned about escaping. We've got weapons back online. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to power off the lift, make sure that doesn't show up to cause us any heartache. And as soon as this Manta comes in to land, which should be shortly, we're going to chase them down. Now, I have some other options here, but I'm going to very purposefully choose to turn off that alarm, now that I think about it, because, again, doesn't bother me, but it might bother you guys. I'm going to choose, instead of using any other option, to use my own carrier, because I want to demonstrate now how you would go about doing that. We can also go ahead and demonstrate how to get a particular achievement while we're at it. One of my favorites called Bonk, which is ramming the enemy carrier with your carrier. So, let's go ahead and we want to zoom this back in a bit because I want to be able to get some more detail on what's going on, and we need to start adjusting our heading. Now we're in calmer seas, and we're going to be moving at a relatively tame pace because we got to have weapons armed in order to try and keep pace with them as they start to run. So, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. I should still be able to use the scope. Yep. So we're going to go ahead, and the next thing is we're going to fire a carrier cruise missile at them and keep those rear weapons down. Because once you damage the AI, they're pretty likely to just run. We don't want that. We're here for the kill. We're going to get into the shadow of the island from the scope. This here, again, if you have another player with you, then you're able to... Oh? What are you doing? Okay, so I'm going to have to cancel this, because I need to also be my own helmsman. So we're just going to let that thing fly. Manta did make the landing. Let's go get him. They're going to be recovering health while they're going for it. We want to finish repairing back left. I know, it seems like we're going to try and use the island as a shield. we're okay. Sea Whiz has got it. We're going to go ahead and power off the 2 rear Sea Whiz, and for now we can also power down AA, because they're not going to be launching any other air units at us that we won't see coming. We've got our torpedoes loaded. Let's make sure that we maintain heading here for now. We gotta get as much speed out of this thing as we can, because they will try and run. When this repair is finished, we're gonna let repairs be done for now. Alright, fine. Get you off the deck, just in case. Things that are on the deck can and will take damage if you're not careful, but once they're in the hangar, they're safe. So, as much as I don't want to lose the speed to the crane and the elevator, we're just gonna have to eat it. Yeah, see, they've kind of adjusted. Ah, they have sent more air units after us. I admire your enthusiasm, but you're dead. Let's see. It's probably a Manta? Yep. So that damaged our front Sea Whiz a bit from the bullets, and our hull took a little bit of damage, but we're less concerned about that, more concerned about, yeah, something like that happening. Oh, that was 2 enemy air units. Oh, we've lost our Sea Whiz again. However, I think our... Oh, we destroyed one, but not the other? That was 2 air units, wasn't it? We've sent another one. Wait a few seconds. Good show. Oh boy. I believe that's the end of us. Because now we got a cruise missile incoming that we can't do anything about. Yep, they got us. Not able to manage everything on my own. So, there we go. Now, I believe I've got a save right before this, so I'm just going to let this play out because I don't have a choice, because they still haven't added the option to skip any of this, and I'll load the game once I get in, and we'll go ahead and give it another shot. And this time, since we know roughly how they're going to run away, maybe we can try and come around the opposite end of the island and push them into Allied territory. We'll see. Alright. We're back in. First things first. Silence the alarm. Next. Let's see where this brings us in, because I actually don't remember. I don't remember them having other naval units. Ah, this is after our bombing run. Okay. Gotcha. I see. That also means that this should be after they significantly damaged us. So, we're just going to go ahead and let them have that victory for the moment. We're going to hold back. We're going to repair. Good show, Manta. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to keep a lot better eye on what they're sending in at us. Prepare to intercept enemy air ASAP. Yeah, I really don't remember them having more naval units out there. That's kind of concerning. How do we handle that? The loss was entirely my fault for not paying attention and keeping an eye on the anti-air. No kill. Petrol. Something's gone a little screwy here. Maybe it's me. Alright, this is when I had turned off the crane. Let's try and get as close to 0 as we can. Make sure all the Sea Whiz are repaired. We're just going to keep weapons armed persistently this time. The next thing we got to do is get a heading on the enemy. We're going to go ahead and call it 12. And we're just going to fountain out a couple of torpedoes. As soon as we get rear left active, here we go. We're going to load more torpedoes. Don't have to. Ah, don't have a choice. Alright, well, we downed whatever was coming after us. It's a swordfish. It's where I say, you really ought to get better with your torpedoes. I see that. Probably not going to be able to intercept it in time. Gotta double check how much AA ammo I've still got loaded. Oh, that sounded like a kill. It was, but that wasn't the only air unit. Where'd you come from? if we're going to relaunch this other Manta, we're not really going to get another chance. Go ahead and fire a couple. I'm sick and tired of that thing. Alright, new heading for torpedoes. I'm actually going to call it 74. I do not appreciate that I'm still tracking air targets. That a second. Okay. I don't have a whole lot to say here. This is kind of just going to be execution. As much as I'd really like that Sea was back, I'm going to kind of need my main guns here any second now. Oh, the Manta launched. Well, it's got countermeasures, and good thing it's got countermeasures. But what it doesn't have is countermeasures for CIWS. Oh, they're opening up with their main gun. Oh, and they got us. That's what we were going to try and move in and do. Alright, well, there's another death. Moving right along. So now, once again, we have to sit through this entire thing. I'll cut it out, and we'll pick back up again. They didn't have naval units out there before, did they? I don't remember that being a threat. I'm surprised. I'll have to relaunch that Manta ASAP. Or rather, I'll probably just outfit the other Manta. Get that thing out there. But anyway, see you in a sec. So my game crashed, and that has happened a couple of times when I was doing test recording, where I would have to, you know, do some audio balancing in OBS. Maybe I would, like, you know, check a notification on Discord, and then I would try to tab back into the game, and the game would just close. As I was loading the game that time again, game crashed. So I'm actually just going to leave it there. You can see most of my experience is playing with at least one other person. I have pretty much never played the game solo except for when recording these videos, and when doing some very light testing for, like, oh hey, you know, how did the you know, when the needlefish came out, how did the following mechanics work? Or, like, you know, doing my weight budgeting way back when. I did a lot of that sort of off by myself, where I was like, okay, how much does this weigh? How useful is it? And doing all the math and everything. That was all offline. That's it. So you can see I'm very dependent on having a helmsman with me, so that, you know, there's at least one other person to bounce things off of. And then on top of that, a lot of the tutorial that you've seen has had zero to do with logistics. Like practical logistics. It's all been stuff like theory and telling you, like, oh yeah, here's how stuff works, but you haven't actually seen people doing it. So I think we're just going to leave it there, rather than constantly picking it back up, because, like, I can get the kill. I could just load up a Manta with a bunch of rocket pod, 2 Mantas with a bunch of rocket pods, and just spam the thing to death from a distance. I don't really want to do that. I also don't really want to cheese it out by dropping a bunch of bears in the water and then running away from it, baiting it into me so that the bears can all just blast it to pieces. Those are legitimate strategies. It's just, you know, personally, I don't like playing like that, so I won't. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, and the next time you see a carrier kill, it's going to be a carrier kill on the other save when we get started with our actual campaign. So hopefully all of this stuff has been, interesting to watch, and it's been helpful, and, you know, nothing else I can say other than I did my best. Hopefully, you get some use out of the footage, you get some use out of the guide, and you get some fun out of the game, because ultimately the point of the game is to have fun. So, good luck on your campaigns, good luck in your custom games, and I will be talking to you again in the future.